What is going on, guys? Simon here for Thomann's Drum Bash. And we are at the YIU Drum Show for the very first time here in Germany. And right now we're in Larnell's Lounge here in the Evans booth. And I'm super excited to talk to you about all things drums. And I can't be more honored. Your groove, your style, your feel, your time is insane. I also saw your performance today. It was amazing. So when I was watching your performance, what I found really interesting is, well, first of all, like that you put your focus on the more simple things, because that is mostly more important than like how fast can I play and whatsoever. And what I really like also is that you also put more focus on things that could happen on stage, like your bass drum pedal broke or something. Can you maybe get back into that for the audience watching this video that haven't been at the performance?
Yeah, so I mean, a variety of things can happen when you're on stage. Like for example, today my in-ear pack went out in the first song, maybe halfway through the song. So, just trying not to panic, trying to figure out, okay, can I hear it enough from the front PA? Can I, ask for the monitors, which is why I have a monitor as a backup for my ears. And just roll with the punches and just try to like get through the song, If there's any gear failure, I typically try to find a moment in the song, if I can continue the groove somewhat, where less is required of me to play, if it's a little simpler, and then I'll start adjusting things or just simplify my pattern, kind of step it down to a simpler version of the pattern, bare bones, fix things, and then ramp it back up to what it was. So it's a little less, it's more discreet. Yeah.
And you also said that you practice that when you're in your practice room or whatsoever, right?
I intentionally practice that, things like preparing for, computer failure or, switching sticks. I mean, I learned from Omar Hakim. He did a clinic. It was my first drum clinic I ever went to in 1998 in a city called Brampton. And he said, someone asked, how many sticks have you dropped? And he said, it's not how many sticks I've dropped, it's how well you pick up another one. And so I was like, oh, I should practice how well I pick up another stick or fix something, So there are videos of gear failure and sticks dropping, and you'll see me kind of make a big show out of it. So
nice, great. And as I already mentioned, I really dig your groove and style and your sound, especially also like how you play dynamic-wise from very soft to loud. What is your approach, or how would you tell the people to, or what are like easy exercises to improve that?
Yeah, the easiest exercise would be a mental exercise when you're playing, and it's something I learned from a teacher that I had, who was actually a sub-teacher. His name is Ted Warren, incredible drummer out of Toronto, and he basically said, imagine like a volume knob or a volume dial, and while you're playing, imagine that you're bringing the volume down slowly, and basically mimic that change in dynamic. Once you have a concept like that of a volume, fader or like a knob, you now give yourself the freedom to basically, it's like, well, how fast am I turning it down? Am I turning it down like, am I doing, am I just going, right? And you can imitate that and make it feel just as real as somebody was manipulating a volume with a slider.
Yeah. That's a great idea, actually, just because it's more like visualizing things instead of like thinking more about the technical stuff.
To say about that too, with visualization, is that we experience so many things, like we experience like the swing of a ride cymbal versus the swing of a splash cymbal, right? When a beater spring is like loose versus like tight on a bass drum, right? The way that your sticks feel when the drum head is really loose versus really tight. These are things that we know. And so you can always take that movement, the pace and the speed, and map it to something you're doing on the drums, and it becomes more relatable. Same thing like conversations, you can map that to music and make it relatable. Same thing like anything in nature. You could use that and map it and make it more relatable.
That's great. That's a great idea, actually. And I was watching the YIU Drum Show podcast you did like maybe a couple of days ago. I don't know when you recorded it, but I heard that you also play bass and keys, right? Did that change your way of playing the drums, knowing more about other instruments?
Absolutely, it changed the way I play the drums. And the biggest change was I would go to jam sessions and play bass or play keys, and I would understand what they were feeling from the drums because what's needed for me to play my part. So now I'm more aware of what the keyboard player needs, what the bass player needs, what a vocalist needs, what a dancer needs, what a guitar player, a steel pan, like whatever the instrument. If I've had a chance to play it, then I can at least know what I can do to support what they're doing or to allow them to shine because of the isms that are natural or, you know, the tendencies that are typical for that instrument.
Do you also feel a difference in how you feel the groove? Because like with drums, you have a lot of ghost notes and notes that happen in between, but maybe with bass, you are like waiting longer in a way to play your next note. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, playing other instruments to help me think about note length. Because with drums, it's just like a transient. It's like boop, and it's really just up to the sustain of the drum unless you mute it. Same thing with a cymbal. Unless you mute it or choke it, it's like it's going to be that, right? But a bass is doo doop 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 doo doop, right? So the big thing for me in understanding the way those instruments work and how they feel and how they change what I'm doing is I know that they might need a sound like a ride cymbal to encourage them or to help them with the sustain, right? Or open hi-hats to help with sustain, or rims, or even better yet, maybe there's a pattern and the low end kind of chant doesn't all need to be played by the bass drum. You know, it could be boop boop doo boop 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 doom boop 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 doom doom boop 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 boop. Like it could you could play off of, you know, two low end instruments and just orchestrate with the other instruments and not try to fill all the spaces on the drums, you know?
Yeah, I know, yeah. That's great. As we were here in the Evans Promark booth, and you released your own drumstick, right? So, how does this work from start to finish to find the stick you're looking for? What is like mostly important for you in a drumstick?
Great question. So I'll say the second part first. What's important for me with a drumstick, and the thing that I told Promark specifically was that I wanted a drumstick that drove like a tank, but flew like a bird. Like I really needed something that was able to, you know, allow me to be really sensitive at a moment's notice, but then I needed something that had weight behind it so that I didn't have to like work too hard to get a big sound, you know? And really help with the longevity of my playing. And I mean, form as well, that's really important, that comes into play. But they got it together with the stick for me. And the process, to answer the first part, was I told them what I was looking for from a stick. I told them, you know, the styles that I play and the needs that I have. I told them the sticks that I liked, and they sent those sticks and a bunch of others based on a profile. And then we sat on a phone call while I was behind my drum kit at home, and I just played and I told them what I liked about each right in real time. And they just made notes, right? Because this was also during the pandemic. So they made notes, you know, and they sent me the first draft, which was really close. I made like 2 modifications, sent me that second draft, and that was it. And here we are.
I really want to try your stick. I haven't had the chance to check it out yet, but I'm definitely going to try it. And when it comes to drum heads, like we're here in the Evans booth, what heads do you use on your drums to get to the sound you want?
Absolutely.
Also, top and bottom, probably.
So, all right. So, toms, UV2, bottoms, G1 clear.
All right.
That's standard for me. That allows me to, you know, with the coating, it's a natural kind of, you know, it rounds the attack off a little bit, but they still have the attitude of like a G2 two-ply clear head, you know? So I get that tone. It doesn't sound papery, you know? I love it. And then for the snares, a UV1 and a Hazy 300 on the bottom. And so again, I prefer coated heads on my snare, but this one-ply head, same attitude as the UV2s, but I was able to get the pitch range and the quality of tone that I was looking for out of the UV1. It was incredible. And on some of my kits, I also use UV1 on the toms as well. still G1.
Kind of music you play, basically.
Exactly. For the kick drum, it's the EQ3 Clear. I wanted something that didn't have too much on it. I love the EMADs, but I felt that like if I had a standard head that would allow me to manipulate the tuning and get a bunch of tones out of it, EQ3 was the one that did it for me. But also the UV1 as well, right, for the bass drum. And
What are you using for that? You have that, yeah.
yeah, so I'm using the hydraulic coated black, right? And I just chose black because a bunch of the drummers chose blue and clear and red, and I was like, I'll take the black one. And same hazy 300 on the bottom. However, for tuning, the bottom head for the deep snare, it's very important for it to be loose, not paper loose, but loose and low enough, because just like a tom, right? That's not only changing the resonance, but it's also changing the pitch. Right? So you might loosen the top head and wonder why you're not getting a lot of low end out of that drum like a tom. Just loosen it to like more of like a medium tension, medium low.
Do you have any muffling inside the toms or on the toms, or do you mainly play open sound?
It depends. Like mostly, open, but I will definitely get the EQ pods from Evans, and they're really easy to manipulate. Like I'll just rip one in half, use half on my rack tom 1, half on rack tom 2. 1.5 or 2.5 on the floor, depending. None on the deep snare because the hydraulic head is good enough. And then I'll use like maybe a half or 2 halves on my main snare. Yeah.
Nice. And maybe one last question about Snarky Puppy when you work with them. I saw you guys playing, I don't know, maybe 3 times already, but it's always an amazing show, and the musicality is just insane in between all the musicians. And I think you were talking a little bit about like how you develop the grooves in Snarky Puppy. So how much freedom do you have, and how do you come up with the grooves you play in Snarky Puppy music?
Yeah, I mean, the short version of that for, composing a drum part is that the composer will have an idea because, they want to structure their song around a drum pattern, which is, real. And then, of course, that's followed up by the drummers manipulating the pattern, making it feel real, make it feel a little more consistent with what you would expect the drums to do, right? But then you'll also get input because everyone is a producer. So if it's really not happening or if it's not feeling good, somebody might have a suggestion, and we take it into consideration, and then we might manipulate that and play it off, the way we need to a little bit more. But the drum section of Snarky Puppy is incredible because for this new record, it's JT Thomas, it's Jameson Ross, it's myself, and Nikki Glaspie.
All right.
Yeah, got 4 drummers, and the setups are just crazy. They were all based on sounds, and we were switching as well. Yeah, it's incredible.
Were you also playing at the same time?
We were switching on sections, and there's one moment where we're playing at the same time, and that's all I'll say about that moment. Okay. It's gonna be. I'm gonna check the comments and see what y'all are saying about that song. We'll see.
Well, great, Larnell Lewis. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it after such a long day.
What's the handshake you did? Was it like?
Oh, it's like this one. Yes. Thank you so much. And you guys, if you don't know Larnell, please check him out. He's an incredible person, drummer, musician. And don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you again in one of the next videos. Simon and Larnell out. Bye-bye.